Hello and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. Today I want to talk about why I think you should be more innovative. Well, we'll talk about that real quickly, but more importantly, I'm going to give you five mindsets, practical practices, whatever. I'm going to help you be more innovative. First, I want to talk about, let's roll the credits. First, I want to talk about why, being innovative. That's kind of a gross word. It's kind of a little bit attributed to tech bros, a little bit of an aerospace thing. I don't know, I was trying to find a different synonym, but basically I think it means being a creative entrepreneur, creative entrepreneurship. Because let's face it, as record label owners, even as indie artists, we're entrepreneurs. We've started our own business here. We're also creatives. So we are creative entrepreneurs. And I think our job, our mandate is to continue to innovate. The reason why I'm attracted to the idea of innovating is because I think innovation is a gateway. It's a gateway to doing things better. It's a gateway to doing more of what you love. It's a gateway to doing less of what you don't love. For record labels, it can be a gateway to sustainability. It could be opening up a new portal to revenue that we never thought was possible before, or just ways of doing things. So that's why I'm kind of excited about innovation, or why I want to inspire and give you some practical tools that will help you be more innovative with your record label. We get to be creative as creatives because of people like today's sponsor, Infinite Catalog, and I'll talk about them in just a little bit. Here are my 5 key perspectives that you should have when it comes to being more innovative. Number 1, create conflicting goals. Okay, what are conflicting goals? This is when you have 2 objectives that are kind of incompatible with each other. Let's say you're a cell phone manufacturer, a smartphone manufacturer. You want to have longer battery life, but you also want to have a slimmer form factor. The batteries need to be bigger to store more power, but you want the phone to be smaller. So those are 2 objectives, 2 goals that are in conflict with each other. Or maybe you're any company that you just want to offer more to your customers, but also make your product cheaper so it's more affordable. Those are in conflict. Creating conflicting goals is a really good thing, and it's a way to help us become innovative. It actually is a way to kind of stimulate innovation because we create these 2 problems, these 2 things we want to do at the same time that are incompatible with each other. How are we going to make this work? What do conflicting goals look like in the record label industry? Maybe you want to have mainstream success, but with weird experimental music. Maybe you want to promote the idea of listening to a full album in full, sitting down at your turntable for 45 minutes. You want to promote that concept to the fast consumption TikTok generation. Maybe you want to offer your vinyl records to your audience for under $20, but at the same time, you want to be sustainable. These are all great goals, but they're often in conflict with each other. So think of 2 desired outcomes for your record label. What are 2 things that you hope to accomplish in the next year that are possibly incompatible with each other or seemingly incompatible? You want to be true to the sound, to the music you love, but you also want to make some money? You want to have a committed fan base that loves physical media, buys vinyl records, but you also want to be really good at social media? You want to release a best-selling jazz album on your electronic record label? Conflicting goals engages our brain. It forces our brain to create, our brain is lazy, but it forces our brain to create a bridge connecting these 2 objectives. This is where innovation happens. Number 2, scratch your own itch. This is kind of a cultural phrase in business. What it means is that you, as a business owner, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you started an idea based on a problem that you actually experienced, something that was bothering you. And in most cases, people who start businesses by scratching their own itch never even intended to start a business in the first place. They just had something that was nagging at them that they felt was roadblocking them from being successful, and they went out and tried to fix it. This happened to me when I was in year 7 of running my record label. I felt alienated as a record label from the greater indie record label community, if there even was one. I had been around for 7 years, yet I felt like labels who had been around for 1 or 2 years were doing things better than me, and I just felt discouraged. And that's where the idea for this show and this podcast came from. I actually called some of these record labels, and I wasn't thinking about starting a community or a business or a YouTube channel. I just thought I'd call up some of these labels and get some advice from them, and we'd turn it into a podcast. Maybe other people would find it interesting. I was scratching my own itch. That's a really disgusting phrase. I don't like it. I mean, I guess it's where your mind goes, right? Where is that itch? Where's the itch? Innovation can happen by scratching your own itch because it's so specific to you. Even though some of our problems might be similar to our other peers, our perspective, the way that we deal with it, the way that it impacts us is different for each of us. And so when you're scratching something very specific, you're solving it in a way that nobody else would have. Here's the beautiful thing about scratching your own itch. Best case scenario, you invent a brand new product, a brand new way of doing things, a huge new company, whatever. Worst case scenario, you waste time doing something that you're really passionate about. Maybe you love vinyl and you decide that you're going to start a podcast or a YouTube channel just exploring the world of vinyl. You go to pressing plants and do documentaries. You go to record stores and you just make your whole record label about vinyl. You stop even promoting your own releases. You're now just promoting the format of vinyl. Everything is about vinyl. Best case scenario, you get millions of people that check out your channel and people start supporting your record label because they love the content you create. Worst case scenario, you have fun. You just explore the thing that you're passionate about. Number 3, embrace failure. If you're not afraid to fail, then you won't be afraid to try. Being truly innovative must come with some sort of risk of failure. Otherwise, I don't really think you're being innovative. If you're doing something that most of your peers do or that major record labels have done many times in the past, maybe you're just putting your own spin on it, that's great. But if failure isn't a risk, then this is just iterating. It's not innovating. When you have the potential to lose your shirt, to lose some sort of money or to be laughed at or to be criticized, or worse, to just be ignored, then you might be onto something. My point is, if you're afraid to do something, if you're afraid to try, if you're afraid of being embarrassed, if it's something you'd be more comfortable not attempting in the first place, well, that sounds like something you should try. That sounds like something you should move towards. If failure is a possibility, if risk is there, then you're on the right track to innovating. Number 4, focus on others. The key to innovation is to focus not just on your problems, but on the problems of others. It's a form of generosity, yes, but it's actually a really smart business move. To put yourself more so in the shoes of your fans and to be empathetic to their wants and needs. Let's look at the opposite right now. If you go to any record label's Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, anywhere on social media, what are you going to see? What are some of the headlines you're going to see? You're going to see things like new album out now. Pre-save our new single on Spotify. Records are back in stock. We're now on Instagram threads. Follow us. We're cooking up something really cool. Stay tuned. I'm not making fun of you. These are all normal things. They're fine. They're great. But who are they about? They're about you. They're about your artists. They're from your position. It's almost aloof. It's almost a little bit out of touch. And you see, bigger brands understand this. But look at Nike. Their ads are children playing basketball on the street and then eventually making it to the NBA. They're women who wake up before the crack of dawn to go running before work. They're guys who are hitting the ice before the rest of their team does. It's aspirational marketing. Apple does the same thing. All of their ads are not about the specs of the machines, but they're about creatives and writers and musicians using their products to be creative. Yeah, it's a little BS. It's a little bit manipulative, but at least it represents a shred of empathy. Now, put yourself in the position of your fans, of a music fan. In fact, when you've heard about a new record that somewhat interests you, why didn't you buy it? Why didn't you order it online? What was the roadblocks that you experienced in that moment? Or maybe you did buy it. Maybe you did click through that ad or you added it to your library. Why was that? What was it about that interaction that worked for you? Think like a music fan. Years ago, one of our very first episodes, if not our very first episode, was with a record label called Trouble in Mind Records. And they had this objective, and I don't know if they still hold to this because of inflation and the economy, but most of their records, if not all of their records, were priced under $20 in the record store. That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. But it came from Bill, their founder, who used to work in a record store, and he would see all of these music fans walking around the store with a handful of records. But before they got to the cash, they would put some back because they didn't have enough money to buy all of those records. He saw this, and that stirred up a little bit of empathy in him. And this is how he built a business, is trying to price all his records under $20. That's incredible. Record labels and indie artists promoting their music could really benefit from focusing on the fan's perspective, focusing more on your community and on your audience than you do on yourself. Finally, number 5 is stop copying. Do something different, please. One of the objectives I have when I interview record labels of all sizes on the podcast is to highlight labels that are doing something different or who are kind of veering off into crazy direction. It's so simple and regular for us to follow each other's model to kind of create record labels that are based on record labels that have come before us, major labels, to follow just that template of release a single, promote a single, release a music video, hype a single, pitch the album, tease the album, release another single, release the album, release a music video, tour, and then repeat the whole process. I get it. Like, being innovative is easier said than done. I'm lazy, and so I kind of end up just following that model myself. If it's a model that works, then why deviate, right? But to deviate is to innovate. Let me say that again. To deviate is to innovate. I get it. I'm busy. I'm busy uploading the music, creating the artwork, getting prices for vinyl, working on the next release. So it's hard to stop and to deviate to try to think of something different. But when we continue to copy the same model, we're probably just going to keep on getting the same results. Is there somewhere small we can deviate? Is there somewhere huge that we can deviate? Is it maybe no pre-release singles leading up to this album? Or maybe every song on the album is a pre-release single? Is it a surprise drop? Just look at this model that you're doing on a weekly, on a monthly basis, and understand that the easiest way to innovate is not necessarily to invent something brand new, but it might just be stopping doing something that you've always done. By the way, we can be creative in this industry because of people like today's sponsor, Infinite Catalog. These guys are the #1 choice for record labels to help manage their record label royalties. We've talked about them on the show so many times because so many people in our community love them. And it's people like this that allow us to focus on being innovative and being creative. So a huge shout out to them for sponsoring today's episode. Go to infinitecatalog.com. And if you go to infinitecatalog.com/other record labels, you can get a special discount. The link is in the description below. This is the best way to help manage all of your revenue as a record label and to make sure that everybody is kept in the loop and everybody gets paid on time. I hope you found today's episode helpful and inspiring. Remember, attempt to work with two conflicting goals, scratch your own itch, embrace failure, focus on others, and look for ways where you can deviate, because to deviate is to innovate. Thanks so much for watching.